Picture this: Strasbourg, the height of summer, 1518. A woman named Frau Troffea steps into the narrow, sun-baked street, and she begins to dance. Not a joyful jig, but a frantic, compulsive, relentless dance. She cannot stop. She dances for days. Within a week, dozens have joined her. Soon, hundreds are caught in the same uncontrollable frenzy, their feet pounding the cobblestones until their shoes are soaked in blood, their bodies collapsing from exhaustion, even stroke, even death. This is the dancing plague. And for centuries, it's been filed away as a bizarre case of medieval mass hysteria. But what if the real story is far more human? What if it wasn't madness, but a desperate, physical scream against unbearable stress? I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is Empire Builders, the rise and fall of civilizations. To understand the summer of 1518, you have to feel the weight pressing down on Strasbourg. This wasn't a city at peace. It was a society on the brink. A series of devastating harvests had led to severe famine. Bread prices skyrocketed. Starving peasants flooded the city. Disease was rampant. The social fabric was tearing. And layered on top of this tangible suffering was a profound, terrifying religious anxiety. The region was steeped in beliefs about vengeful saints, particularly Saint Vitus, who was said to curse people with a dancing mania. The people of Strasbourg weren't just hungry and sick. They were psychologically primed for a punishment, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Then, Frau Troffea danced. The city council's initial diagnosis? Too much hot blood. Their prescribed cure? More dancing. They cleared a marketplace, built a stage, hired musicians and professional dancers to keep the afflicted moving, believing they had to dance the poison out of their blood. It was a catastrophic miscalculation. By legitimizing the dance as a physical cure, they created a permission structure. The plague exploded. Now, the traditional mass hysteria theory suggests this was a psychogenic illness, a subconscious performance of a feared curse, spreading through sight and suggestion. And that's compelling, but it misses a crucial, darker layer. Think about it from a modern lens. What do we call the physical manifestation of extreme, chronic, toxic stress? We understand now that trauma doesn't just live in the mind, it embodies itself. The people of Strasbourg were experiencing what historian John Waller, who studied this extensively, calls a perfect storm of misery. Their bodies were weakened by malnutrition and disease. Their minds were besieged by existential fear. In such a state, the line between psychological distress and physical symptom blurs. The compulsive dancing may have been a trance-like dissociative state, a last-ditch escape for a psyche with nowhere else to go. It wasn't a contagion of laughter, but a contagion of despair, expressed through the only collective language their culture and condition provided, a saint's curse made flesh. The eventual end of the plague is perhaps the most telling part. The council, realizing their dance cure had failed, abruptly reversed course. They banned music and dancing. They organized a pious procession, praying for forgiveness. And they led the afflicted to a shrine of Saint Vitus, where their feet were placed in red shoes and they were paraded around holy relics. Only then did the dancing stop. The cure wasn't medical, it was societal. It addressed the underlying anxiety by performing the absolution the community desperately needed. It lifted, however briefly, the weight of that toxic stress. I think about Strasbourg often, from my own vantage point in another relentless city, New York. We don't dance in the streets until we drop anymore, but our bodies still absorb the pressures of our empires. We have our own frenzies, our own collective burnout, our own physical manifestations of a world that feels like it's spinning too fast. The dancing plague reminds us that civilizations aren't just built on economics and politics, but on the resilience of the human nervous system. When the stress of an era becomes truly toxic, the people, quite literally, will start to break down in the most spectacular, tragic, and revealing ways. The fall isn't always an invasion. Sometimes it's a dance. This has been Empire Builders, a production of Light Knot Studios. For more stories on the fragile threads that hold societies together, visit us at https://www.lightknotstudios.com. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi. Thank you for listening.